Spatial and temporal discontinuity are some of the ultimate components that make or break a narrative, thus having the power to make the plot of a story more engaging when executed properly. When looking at discontinuous narratives, it can be integrated in a number of ways, from editing to motifs, as well as being a featured stylistic choice. We will be looking at 4 movies: Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind by Michael Gondry, 500 Days of Summer by Mark Webb, The Social Network by David Fincher, and lastly the main focus, the 2019 adaptation of Little Women by Greta Gerwig. In Gerwig's Little Women, the techniques of discontinuity support the idea that girlhood and womanhood are inevitably intertwined, and with the help of the past, we shape the present experience. This brings newfound relevancy of Louisa May Alcott's 1968-69's novel to today's expectations and standards for women. Starting with Little Women, we are made aware of the interruptions in continuity, specifically narrative and editing, for the purposes of translating Alcott's novel to a modern-day viewer, showcasing the importance of many topics such as emphasizing female authorship and independence, a topic not often explored in the past films and series adaptation of Alcott's novel. Gerwig uses spatial and temporal discontinuity for a couple of main reasons. The story has been a classic for over 100 years, thus the need for reinvention and a 21st century twist is necessary for it to translate and resonate with today's norms. Thanks to discontinuous editing, the viewer is kept engaged with the plot. Secondly, the non-linear narrative emphasizes the importance of events over chronology in terms of shaping the characters' attitudes and beliefs on screen. The use of match cuts, specifically matching the emotion from scene to scene, helps us navigate the discontinuous narrative. Similarly, we have 500 Days of Summer. Focus on the love story and the uncovering of the events is manipulated by the use of temporal discontinuity. We find a new meaning in the relationship as time is skipped ahead or backtracked to show us monumental moments that shape the way we interpret the character's meaning of love and the search for it. Just like in Little Women, between the complicated love entanglements of Joe and Laurie. The love stories in both Little Women and 500 Days of Summer starts off as hopeful and tricks audiences in rooting for a relationship that unfortunately unfolds in a manner that contradicts the viewer's hopes. This is a brilliant use of discontinuity. With techniques such as jump cuts, our expectations are set up for a completely different outcome and potentially a bigger lesson gained from having our prospects derailed. Continuing on the trajectory of love-themed movies, we'll take a look at Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Here, the more we uncover the plot, the more confusion is brought on by the temporal and spatial discontinuity. The repetition of certain shots, the use of jump cuts, and the overall montage technique brings awareness to the non-linear narrative and its discontinuous editing style. The movie starts with a scene that fools the viewer. It's what I call a faux beginning, something we only realize at the end when the process of erasing the character's mind from the love interest doesn't go as planned. Likewise, these editing techniques are used in Little Women, where viewers must be engaged to understand where the jump cuts have pulled the audience, and if the flashbacks are in fact flashbacks. However, both plots carry emotional continuity thanks to the match cuts, which allow the spectators to follow the storyline. The characters of Joe from Little Women and Clementine from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind show the need to be spontaneous and in control of the outcome. The way Clementine erases Joel just to find her way back to him is an opposite parallel of the kind of love Joe wants to keep feeling from Laurie before she finds out he's engaged, highlighting the emotional elements of the characters and bringing forward character development. Lastly, we'll look at The Social Network, where the temporal discontinuity is primarily used to juxtapose the past actions with the current situation. It clearly shows us the relationship between the two represented timelines. The relationship between these timelines becomes closer and closer until we're caught up to the present, where the lawsuit is coming to a conclusion, however, without showing us the outcome. The similarities between The Social Network and Little Women are few, yet the basis of making the original stories more engaging, given the repetitive plots, is discontinuity. With the use of several techniques, such as parallel editing, the audience is given small pieces of information at a time, like a puzzle that comes together at the end, once all the information has been displayed. A traditional chronological route would have not made the audiences as committed to the plots, as they would have been able to assume the outcomes, since similar stories, if not the same, have been told numerous times. To conclude, discontinuity can be a very innovative way of showcasing a story in terms of stylistic choices and editing. It allows for reinvention and repurposing of overtold stories and gives the opportunity to sweep audiences off their feet and be emotionally engaged with the film.